Hello, I'm Maciej Mikos, and you're watching World Talks. The EU and India signed a landmark trade agreement, which Indian Prime Minister called the mother of all deals. Now, what does it mean for Europe in the long term, and who will benefit from it the most? To talk about it, we're joined by Patryk Kugiel, analyst from the Polish Institute of International Affairs. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me on the program.
Thank you for accepting our invitation. So the EU and India strike a deal, but what will it change? How will this deal change the situation in Europe? And I'm not talking about today, I'm talking about the next decade.
Well, this is a really historical event, landmark agreement that will open up one of the largest markets in the world. We need to remember that India now is fourth largest economy. It is the most populous country with 1.5 billion people. It is the fastest growing economy among the G20 group, and it used to be very protectionist economy. So it was very hard for Europeans to do business in India. India had one of the highest tariffs for imports from across the world. Therefore, European Union, the whole export to India was only 50 billion euros last year. So with the signing of this agreement and entering it into force later this year, it will open up massive opportunities for export, for cooperation in terms of technology, of investments, of movement of people and professionals. So this is truly a groundbreaking achievement of the current EU Commission. And it has not only this economic dimension, but equally important is the strategic and geopolitical dimension of this agreement, because it will bind closer together these two large actors. We talk about the second largest economy, European Union, and the fourth largest economy, India, two big democracies. So I think also this agreement builds trust on which we can build the relationship in many other areas.
I remember the so-called old Union trying to do the very same thing with Russia. It didn't end up very well. But talking about that, which countries will reap the best share of profits from the deal?
Certainly those that export the most outside of the European Union. And we all know that we need to talk then about Germany, about France, about Italy, about the largest EU economies that are oriented for export of their goods. Currently, Germany accounts for 1/4 of the export of the European Union to India. So certainly it will benefit the German industry the most. But since we are talking about the European Union, where everyone is connected to everyone else within the common market, so indirectly it will benefit all others, also subsidiaries of German factories in Poland, in Central Europe. So I believe it will benefit Europe as a whole, because the more Germans or French export to India, this is better for all of us. And at the same time, it opens up potential for cooperation for smaller countries that has been less present on the Indian market, which used to be a very difficult one to operate in. So I believe also this is massive opportunity for Polish export, and Polish economy needs to globalize its export to outside of the European Union. So this will at the same time benefit Polish exporters and producers.
Talking about the global dimension of this deal, now Russia is still buying cheap Russian. India is still buying cheap Russian fossil fuels. Now, will it change now?
I wouldn't link those two elements. India is importing its oil from Russia because it is at competitive price, and India is third largest importer of oil. So probably by engaging India more closely, Europe will have an additional influence and leverage over India's decision. And as I said, this agreement will build trust between those partners. So Europe and India can jointly cooperate on finding alternative sources of energy, and our concerns will be taken more seriously with India. We have seen last year how Donald Trump approached India in this regard. He was trying to force India to scale down its imports from Russia, and it backfired. It has only destroyed the trust and relationship between India and the United States. And he didn't achieve much in terms of reducing India's reliance on Russian import. We obviously dislike India's position on the war in Ukraine and its strong relationship with Russia. But rather than sanctioning India, we prefer to engage India. And in this way, we can reduce India's dependence on Russian energy resources, but also on defense supply. So in the long term, I think stronger India-Europe relations will mean weaker Russia-India relations that will benefit all of us here in Europe.
Right now, this deal also talks about closer defense cooperation. Now, could this mean that instead of buying Russian tanks and missiles, New Delhi will be buying them in Europe?
Yes, basically that's one of the goals and aims of this agreement. On the side of this FTA, of this free trade agreement, there was another important agreement signed between European Union and India, that is partnership on security and defense, which is basically encouraging those two partners to cooperate more closely in terms of security, military cooperation, maritime cooperation, countering hybrid threats, cybersecurity threats, etc. And it wants both partners to cooperate more in defense sector, between defense industries. It has already been taking place in relations between Europe and India in the past. We need to acknowledge that France has already emerged as the second largest supplier of arms and armaments to India in recent years. It is almost on par with imports from Russia. We have Germans, Spanish, Swedes, Czechs, even Polish interested in this big market in terms of military procurements. With this agreement, I believe that India will be more willing to buy arms from Europe rather than from Russia, and two sides will be more keen to engage in technological cooperation, in research and development of new military systems. So in the long term, it will benefit Europe both economically, because they will get bigger share of the Indian market, and strategically, because we will help India to lessen its dependence and reliance on Russia as a primary supplier of arms and primary security partner.
One last question. Now, the EU has signed two major trade deals in a span of less than 2 weeks. Now, first was the Mercosur deal with South America. Now we have a deal with India. Could an agreement with China be the next one?
I don't think so. There is no such a serious discussion about agreements with China. What we are trying to do is actually to diversify away from China. And this is one of the reasons why I engaged India, because India is the only big country that can offer alternative, comparable in terms of size market to China. So this is the aim of the agreement in these strategic terms, that Europe and India would like to lessen dependence on China, restructure the supply chains, global supply chains, to diversify the trade relations and investments away from China. And India is a very ready and great partner for this, because it offers the scale, this market, the opportunities, the talent, the educational skills, technological skills of its population. So,
Of course, it is.
I think we signed a
It is
deal
a
with
huge
India enough
country
to sign one with China.
with enormous ambitions too, as we all have them. Patryk Kugiel, analyst from the Polish Institute of International Affairs, was our guest this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching, and stay with us for more interviews here on TVP World.